this anthem tracks. Boy, I ain't playing.
We are live now.
Give me my theme music.
Oh man, everybody, guess who I got back? The light-skinned motherfucker.
You know, you go to hell. Give me my theme music. Gotta get better theme music. I've been going all this time and you had one job. One damn job. And that was to get us better theme music.
Well, welcome to episode 12 of Grown Man Shit.
Damn, it's been 12 episodes. Goodness.
Yeah, you've been gone for a minute, so I've had to hold it down, camp down, click, clack, block.
Yeah,
feel what I'm saying?
Yes, we appreciate you.
Yeah, you gotta appreciate, gotta appreciate. But yeah, man, glad to have you back finally. Foremost, brother, back with me. Shoot, actually, I did my venting on episode 11. He's been going through some stuff as well, so I think I'm going to pass that same initiative that I was doing on to him, and we're actually just going to hear him talk about what he's been going through, let him vent. I believe he needs it right now, and I believe you guys may need to hear it. Maybe you guys are going through it, and I appreciate the people that have watched and commented, and the people that have called me on, the one that I did by myself. Thank you. It means the world to me. So, Keyon, man, what's been going on with you, bro?
Well, I wouldn't even necessarily call it a venting thing for me. I guess I'll call it more along the lines of helping others receive clarity based off of my own personal experiences.
So tell us about your personal experience.
Yeah. I don't even know where to begin.
Start somewhere.
Shit, that's the thing.
Okay. Let's start with the divorce signing.
The divorce signing.
Yeah. Yeesh. I know. I think I chose maybe one of the hardest subjects to speak upon, but I believe you need it. Please talk.
Well, divorce is never easy. It's never fun. It's never easy. It's never fun. For those that find themselves having to go through, such a thing, you definitely have to have a certain level of, what am I trying to say? It's not for the weak, for sure. What I would just simply say is that, I don't know, I guess the simplest way I can put it is, if you love a person, you got to love them enough to be able to let them go. Plain and simple. Even though it might hurt, might be painful, you got to be able to not only love them enough to let them go, but love yourself enough to be able to know that you can and you will eventually, be able to do better. I think one of the biggest things, and it actually just came from church, and it kind of inspired me a little bit. I think some of the biggest things that we as people, we face and we deal with is that we really don't try to get to know ourselves before we jump into these relationships, situationships, marriages. We don't date ourselves. We don't know ourselves. We don't take the time to figure out what our own personal boundaries are, but we expect the people that we link up with to be able to respect these boundaries. And when even we ourselves, we don't know what these boundaries are. I think the biggest issue is that one of the things that I figured out today was, and I don't know, I thought about it on the ride over here, and we just have to think, and it's for men and women. There's always something that will prevent you from feeling the type of pain that you feel, whether it be in a breakup, whether it be in a divorce, whether it be in anything. There's always some type of sign. I would say that my sign was that there was something very near and dear to my heart that I grew up knowing that I probably should do and should walk in. But it was something that wasn't really received well because of the type of lifestyle that my ex preferred to live, which to each his own, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about that on the way over here, and I was thinking just like, how much can you save yourself? How much pain can you save yourself when you're not trying to force somebody to fit inside of a box that they obviously don't belong in? You try to create something with somebody that they let you know, like, this is not something that I want to do. And then you wind up stunning your own growth because you're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And you may seem like you're happy. It may look like you're happy. But in reality, you're not, because you're not walking in your own, in the promise that God has for you. So again, it goes needless to say, divorce is hard, it's rough, especially from start to finish. But one thing I'll tell anybody, if you ever find yourself there, best thing is to always just start to practice self-love and, just practice self-love, self-help, self-care.
Yeah. I would like to commend you on. I know it was hard, but you still see the faith in dealing with women of the same ethnicity that you are.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike myself, I have been hurt by too many women that look like me to even want to date them. And I understand that that's not a healthy thing, but at this point in time where I'm at, it's not that I don't find them attractive. It's just that I've been through some serious hardships with, as you know, and if you've seen episode 11, my mother, my ex-wife, a young lady that was like a sister to me. So as far as they're concerned on my end, I love having them as sisters. But as far as being lovers and anything else, where I'm at, I just can't see myself with a person a woman that looks like me at this particular time. And I'm scorned. I'm hurt. I am hurt. And I tell you this honestly and open. And I'm also telling you that it's not healthy. It's something that I'm learning to deal with and cope with and talk to the right people out on a daily basis. but these are the things that you have to go through in order to get yourself back asking the questions, why do you feel this way? Um, what does that look like for the future? Um, are you hurting possible opportunities? And I've answered all those questions. I know the answer to all of them. But for what's happened to me, I want to make sure that my heart is kept under lock and key. And anybody can hurt me. It's just not, these prospective type of women. It's just that it's happened so frequently that I'm just null and void with it. It's just like, we can kick it, but I'm not even trying to do anything with you sexually. Like, I need a sister out of a person that looks like you. That's all I want is sisterhood from you. I don't want anything else, friendship or sisterhood. And the friendship, I do not want sex from you, but from other women that are a different ethnicity. Sure, I'm willing to try different opportunities with them. And I commend you for you still being able to give our sisters a chance, because I know there's some brothers like us that are just like, forget it. And sisters don't need that. I know they don't. And right now, it's kind of I'm in a selfish spot, especially when it comes to my heart. Very, very, very selfish with it right now. My self-love is about me loving myself first, and anything that has hurt me, or anything that looks like it has hurt me, I'm like, no, I'm staying the hell away from. Doesn't mean I can't have a relationship with it, because I believe that knocking all of them out is totally wrong. But not wanting to have a sexual relationship is viable for now. Maybe that may change. Maybe it will never change. Who knows? But yeah, at least you have to be open enough with yourself, to express those feelings. So if a young lady comes across, you'd be like, hey, I'm not that type of guy that wants to get married to you, have kids with you or anything. But if you're looking for a brother, I'm here for you. I mean, you can speak upon that if you'd like.
I definitely think that I would have a more conservative view, as you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, truthfully, it comes down to, a woman is going to do whatever a woman is going to do, regardless of her ethnic. Excuse me. You know what I'm trying to say. Regardless of what color she is. I think the biggest thing is just that just needs to be healing overall.
Most definitely.
I know for me, post divorce, it's been a bit of a struggle, because it's like, there's always a thing of like, you don't want to make the same mistake twice. Definitely not. Not to say that like my marriage was a mistake, but there's definitely, like I said, if there was the right amount of self-love and self-help and self-healing there on both ends, then we definitely would have understood that maybe this is something that should just be a friendship and nothing more.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But I'm even dealing with the divorce rates here. I think it's 50% of women at a certain bracket, ethnic women, African American women being at the top, and they're at the 50% in this particular area that aren't college educated. They are the ones that are asking for or giving the divorce papers to the man. 80% of that, when it comes down to African American women, are women that have gone to college and either have, I think it is a BA to a PhD. And so for me, that's another reason why I'm just like, the whole idea of the sister and brotherhood thing really is more commendable for me because I'm looking at these numbers. And so if I'm looking at these numbers, but then I'm hoping for something better, I think I'm setting myself up for failure because what? We know that math doesn't lie. And so I don't want to put my heart, and people that know me know the type of man that I am, up for grabs like that. I rather put my heart up for grabs like that in some form of a friendship or some form of brother and sister love. But not as far as sexual gratification things or even a more intimate type level of that where it's still sexual but it's spiritual at the same time. I just don't believe that my spirituality for right now mixes with my sisters, especially that are in the United States. They're going through their own trauma, father not being there. Uh, then now you have social media, all of these other things that they're going through that they're not even sure. But what they think about a woman is she wants to be a nurturer regardless, and so they're going to enter these relationships that aren't necessarily good for them. And most of the time, I feel women don't even know what it is that they want anyway.
I guess my, I guess my, I guess my rebuttal to that would be, at least on the divorce rates.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, number one, the reason why I would think that they're so high is, again, we're not trying to get to know who the person that we're with or the person that we're trying to be with. And like what you said, you know, we don't really know. And I mean, this is just not on women either. I mean, there's, small percentage of men as well. We don't know, don't really know what we want. I mean, I know for a young man, I mean, you can say, oh, I want somebody that's loyal, but like, what is loyalty?
Mm-hmm.
Loyalty means a lot of different things and a lot of different aspects. I know for me, I got married when I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, my thing was, oh, I want, somebody that's loyal, somebody that, you know, it was very small list of things. And a relationship a marriage requires so much more. It requires patience. It requires, time and energy.
Mm-hmm.
It requires love and affection. It requires hitting all of the love languages. And I think the reason why divorce rates are so high is that you know, we're not in touch with that. We're not in touch with our love languages. We don't know what it is that we like. We don't know if we want quality time or words of affirmation or acts of service. We don't know, and then us not knowing what our love language is, once we get 2, 3, 4 years into it
Mm-hmm.
and we discover this for ourselves, and now, it's tough on our partner because we're expecting them to do an about face and like, hey, I finally know what it is that I want.
Mm-hmm.
But now I think for most people they feel like, well, not even they feel like. I mean, 9 times out of 10, once you make that realization of like, hey, this is actually what I want instead of this, you're given that a very short amount of time to be able to even make that adjustment. Um, you know, and I think the biggest problem with that is that now it's like, okay, now the clock starts ticking because now you have to try and you're racing against time to try and learn what it is that this person likes, and then eventually, at the same time, because I mean, the world that we're living in, you have over 7 billion people in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I mean, obviously we meet people every day, whether it be, at Walmart, whether it be at the park, at church. We begin to meet people that fit these interests, these newfound interests.
Mm-hmm.
which is new to us. You know, we find these people that meet these interests, and it's like, this is what I want versus what I have.
Yeah, that's why I can't really say they're love languages. I can most definitely say personal needs, but I can't say love languages because love has its own different, separate understanding. Um, when people say they love you, they can mean it in different ways. From my understanding. So that's why I say, when you're dating somebody, figure out which their acronym for love is, what L means, what O means, what V means, and what E means, and then tell them what yours is.
So,
So
not
that
to cut you off, but with dating, do you feel like dating is the new age way of dating, which is you are courting multiple partners until you basically weed out the ones that don't match what it is that you're looking for?
the dating that we're in now, or so-called dating, I don't believe is dating. Honestly, I just believe everybody's just getting their rocks off in some way, form, or facet. You really don't have a chance to really sit down and get to know somebody. You just get to know them on a surface level. And what's very surface level is your emotions, and sex can be a very surface level type thing, but sex can be very spiritual. It just depends on the relationship you have with that person. And you'll get different sexual urges with that person. But what we have now, honestly, with the way that the internet is set up, all these dating apps and everything else, I think that's messing. That system has messed up everything for everybody because they really don't have a true understanding, first of all, of what it is that they want, and second of all, what do they want in their mate. There's too much to choose from. That's like going to the candy store and just going ham, and that's what's happening. You're going to the candy. You're just not. You're not able to just pick up a little piece of candy like you were in Tasty. Be like, nah, I don't like that. You're at a buffet full of candy and just eating everything. That's a problem. And when you're especially dealing with time, you're losing what it is that you're wanting because you're dealing with so many different things. I mean, you're living, and then you have your personal needs that you're taking care of, and then this other person may be taking care of this other one. This other person may be taking care of this other one. This other person may be taking care of this other one, and that's how you get into a polygamous relationship. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with polygamy if you understand what polygamy is actually for, and if you do, then that's cool. But just going out to have multiple partners so you can have sex with different people, to me, is the dumbest thing that could ever have happened. You really don't have, an organic sense of who the person is besides for sexually that you're having these sexual urges for. And having a relationship is worth way more than that. Sex enhances when you have the right partner. You can be a polygamist as long as you understand the other concubines that you have and have a real relationship with them. You're good. But just going around, excuse my language, fucking people for what? For your instant gratification, for you feeling good at that moment, and then all of a sudden you drop down and get into depression? Because now you either feel like a hoe or now you feel worthless or whatever else it may be. So that's really not teaching people to take care of themselves. It's teaching people not to be lonely. But sometimes you need to be alone in order to understand who you are so that you can move forward and walk in whatever type of light it is that you need to walk in. And that's the problem, I believe, with a lot of people, whether it's men or women, is
there's no sense of wanting to be alone, which is the truth.
yeah. And so where do you find growth at? Your growth is in the darkness. That's where you sprout to the light. From the time that you're born, you're a little black dot in the womb of your mother. There's nothing but darkness in there. If you're a seed, same thing. You're planted in the earth. You come out to see the light. So we're dealing with this falsification of reality, and we're subjectified to accept it for what it is. Like, why are women posing on Instagram halfway butt naked? That's attention. You can take pictures of yourself and leave them on your phone and not have them on the internet if that's something you want to do for yourself. But the world doesn't have to see it. Like, that's a marketing. Now you're becoming a target and you're looking for certain types of people, which is your target market or your target audience that you want to gravitate to you. So now you've become cattle because you put yourself up on the chopping block. You know, men do it too. But it's like, and these are things that we're not taught. You know, what we do is we just mimic what other people see. Most people don't even have their own voice. They're listening to what other, what do they call them? I want to say sponsors, not sponsors. And influencers. Influencers say that they should do.
And to be honest with you, I'm glad you mentioned that because going back to the divorce rate, I think that's another reason why. That's another reason why the divorce rate is so high. Because I think not only do people not understand what their love language or what it is that they want or what their love language is or what the expectation of their partner should be, I think that a lot of people, and just collectively, I think that a lot of people, they look at the lives of, the rich and the famous, and they're looking at all these people that, have these beautiful families and, these women that are, basically like just glorifying their husbands or, the husband goes and he's cooking and he's, doing the little cards where you pick a card and like, I think that also plays a role because it's like, which don't get me wrong, influencers, it's not an attack on influencers because
No, not at all.
to an extent,
we're influencers.
Exactly. And to an extent, it's like, okay. Like, for instance, I actually think the card thing is actually a very dope idea. Like,
The what?
So basically, it's like, you have like two cards, and one can say, let's say one said, go to Walmart, and the other one said, like, shopping spree or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like little cute things that,
Okay, I see what you're saying.
yeah. And like I actually like that. Like that's actually something that like in my next relationship, I plan on doing. I mean, because there's things that you can take from influencers that actually make sense. But I think when you start your foundation and when you start going to these relationships and you have nothing at all to really fall back on, and then you don't even know yourself, and then once you start discovering yourself, and then you start looking at the people around you, yeah, it's gonna look a little hectic because it's like, oh well, this person is doing like X, Y, and Z, and I want what this person has. Like I know for me, it was kind of rough because it was just like, somebody had told me, like, oh, I want, this type of relationship. And I could never understand it because it was just like, I felt like, didn't you already have that? Like, didn't you have it? Like, isn't that something that was already provided to you? But it really just goes down to setting your hard boundary lines. Setting your hard boundary lines, setting the things that you just won't accept, and then the things that you are willing to work on. And the one thing I will tell anybody is, if you knowingly know that someone does not fit into your orbit. Don't try and force them to be in your orbit. Because if they're letting you know, like, hey, you know, your dream is not my dream, don't sit there. Because I think that's another problem. We think that we can change people into becoming what we want them to become, or if not try and change them, hold out hope that they can be what it is that, you know, we would hope for them to be. And when it doesn't happen, we end up hurt because it's like, you know, I really wanted this. But I mean, who do we have to blame really for when it doesn't happen like that?
This is true. You know, you have to find the opportunity within yourself, not the opportunity within the other person. You know, when I was with my ex-wife, I saw a lot of things that she could do, but she would say she wanted to do them, but she didn't want to do it. She wanted to do whatever she wanted to do, and that's fine. But I should have known, like, okay, I'm not going to push the envelope, and then later on, I should have just been like, hey, I need to focus more on me, and if that does, if you know, if me focusing more on me is getting in the way of things, then maybe we should look at another thing as far as maybe filing for a divorce or something like that. But that was something that could have been talked about, you know, amongst us as adults.
Exactly.
And those are, you know, my biggest thing is finding out secrets behind your back with somebody that you're supposed to be sharing the rest of your life with. To me, that is betrayal at its finest. If you're unhappy, let the person know you're unhappy. Just don't go behind their back. Say, hey, honestly, I don't think this is going to work. It may hurt them, but at least if you're telling them that before you go out and create an act of infidelity or anything else like that, you know, you've told me. So now I can be like, okay, all right, you did tell me this. I didn't listen. It's on me. But for you to have to find out from somebody else, me to have to find out through a child who was supposed to be keeping mommy's secret, that is devastating.
No, it is.
That does something more to your psyche, because I can accept it if you come and talk to me one-on-one. I can accept it even if you're a woman and you're like, you know what, I found an attraction for another person, and I would like to pursue them. I understand that we're married, but I feel like I want a divorce. Or I don't know what it is that I want. Or something. On both ends, whether it's the man's side or the woman's side. But to be what I call is thrown into chaos, knowing that this person has gone out and they've done some infidelitous things, and then for you to find out, and as a man that loves this woman, like now you're thinking in your cardinal state of sense. Now you're going back into an animal. You've done this to me, so because you've done that, now I'm going to retaliate and hurt you in a different way. And it's a great thing that I was surrounded by great people, because those people got me to see that, hey, it's not worth it. She's not the right one for you. You know, you just wait, you work on you, and the right one will come to you in due time. But work on who Ajamu is, just like you're working on who you are. The right woman will come for you.
No, I believe. I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, another thing I'll say is just because, I mean, for me, like, I never saw myself being, never saw myself being divorced. Never saw myself,
I don't think we do. I didn't see myself being divorced.
Never saw myself being divorced. Never saw myself, on the other side of 25, inching close to the 30 and still, like, basically love life up in the air. I mean, for me, it was always a thing of like, okay, marry young, find someone that you want to spend the rest of your life with. Marry young, about 25, 26, like times like these, I always looked at it as, okay, start thinking about kids, start thinking about creating a family and everything. And, even the best plans go astray sometimes, but I think that the biggest thing is just the lesson in it all. And, the biggest lesson is just that, you do got to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You got to. And
Love and understand yourself. Understanding is key. Loving yourself is one thing, but not having understanding is another thing.
Yeah, no, because what would end up happening is that, like, I know for myself at least, there was some females that you try to get involved with, and when you're still reeling from your own personal hurt, you will have the tendency of indirectly hurting innocent people that they may or may not be for you.
Yeah.
I definitely encourage anybody to heal before you decide to recommit. Because nobody deserves to start to put their love or to start to feel close to you and then to get hurt by you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're still hurt, because you didn't heal from the thing that hurt you.
Most definitely. You are absolutely
And
correct.
I think that was something that I had to wake up and see that I had to heal. There was a lot of dark nights, a lot of nights that I cried myself to sleep, and a lot of nights where I really just didn't even know what I wanted to do. That's because I didn't know myself. And I was putting more power in the hands of the thing the thing that hurt me. End of the day, as far as me and my ex-wife, while we may not have been a good fit in a marriage, what was hurting me was what could have been.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be delivered from the what could have been, especially when the what could have been is over.
Yeah.
Once it's over and once it's done with, you have to let it go. And that was something, for a couple months I held on to a lot of that hurt and a lot of that pain, because it was just like I didn't understand why and how. I didn't want my reality to be my reality. I still wanted to live in this fantasy world where I was safe, because for years, that was my safe space. That was my safe ground. I didn't really have many people that I was willing to trust. And the thought of having to relearn somebody, having to relearn and having to build that trust was frightening, especially in this new day world where, you're just one wrong move from being set up, one
Most
wrong
definitely.
move from suffering, a major historic loss. Dating now is already bad enough for women, but now, in this day and age in 2023, even men, have to be more mindful and more careful because the playing field has definitely changed and it's leveled. I mean, I'm not gonna downplay it from a woman's point of view because a woman definitely, hands down, is still, you know, add more of it's still add more of a it's still more vulnerable to these things that I'm speaking of more so than a man is. But I mean, men have to also be careful as well. And all of these things, really just it was just like, man, like I have to go through all of this, have to try and figure out who a person is, have to try and do all of this, like why?
Yeah,
Sometimes you just have to let it go.
most definitely. I mean, the biggest thing with me is I'm just focusing on my money.
That was another thing.
Yeah.
That's another thing. I mean, you have to start looking at the positives. I mean, I know for me it was like it was a dark time, but once I took a couple weeks to myself to really like learn myself, and then I realized like, to an extent I like being alone. To an extent
Mhm.
I like, and not even that, like I learned who I am as a person, and I actually started to like myself. I realized that I didn't know myself, and I didn't really too much like myself. But I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I like being alone sometimes. I like having my peace and my quiet. I learned that I like being out of the way, and that I no longer had to fit. Because while there was boxes that maybe I would have wanted my ex-wife to fit in, there was also boxes that I had to try and force myself to fit in that I knew was just simply not me.
I mean, honestly, I love women. The only thing I love more than women is watching my money grow. And I've been able to watch my money grow, and I love just planting the seeds and watching it just spark and not knowing that I have to spend it at any time because this person may need this or this person may need that or whatever else. It's just something that's in my pocket. And if I choose to spend it, I can spend it. See, when you're married, that's not the case.
You know?
You know. So if there's something that I've learned about it, it's my attention to how much I actually love to see my little children, which is my money now, grow and just flourish. Not spending it, not doing anything like that, but know in the long run that now I can set up goals and objectives and be able to hit them right on the target because I don't have anything else in the way. What I've noticed is the women that I've chosen really don't bring too much to the table. I'm the one that has to fork out everything. I'm the one that's losing. I'm losing on my end. I don't have a helpmate. I have somebody that's breaking me. Uh, it's funny because when I was in my marriage, bro, my credit score was terrible, terrible. 3 months out of it, bro, that shit shot up. I was at 540. As soon as I got out of my marriage, 3 months out of it, I was at a 620. Just let me know something. Let me know something right off the rip. That one wasn't for me. Because any woman that's for you and you're for that woman, you are going to make sure that you guys grow together. It is a we thing. And you guys are going to figure out ways to utilize your money so that you can achieve each other's dreams, not just being able to pay the bills. And that means you have to be at a certain mindset in your life. And that's something that I didn't understand at the time. Plus, I think I married for the wrong reason anyway. Like like I said before, I didn't feel loved by my parents. So I was looking for love in other places. And so I thought this woman and this family that I was coming into was going to love me. So that took me a long time. That's why it took me about a year and a half to really understand it. Because I seriously had to watch the episode 11 and really just start dissecting, the things that I was talking about. Um, and replay a lot of things that I've been through in my life, and to figure out why was I holding on to this idea of this woman that did me so maliciously. And sometimes those ideas still pop up because there's that inner child that still wants to be loved, and these are things that we aren't able to express as men because we have to take on this outer world instead of dealing with the inner world and then taking on the outer world. We don't really get to find out who we are first because we have to always run with this facade of who we are because the world is attacking us. I don't think women understand what the daily basis for a man is and how constantly and random we are being attacked, especially being a black male on a daily, and then have to deal with, maybe there's a happy moment where we see a girl and we're like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to her, and she's like, ugh, that's another shun when we've already been shunned from whatever else we have. It's like we really don't have any support. While women, doesn't matter what color you are, the world kind of caters to you, kind of coddles you in a sense. You can get away with a lot of different things. But as a man, that's why the suicide rate for men is so high. And we're just talking about men in general. We're not even talking about African Americans, which make up the highest rate of suicide. And it has to do with them not feeling loved, not being understood, being in toxic relationships with women that just abuse them, whether it's mental abuse, physical abuse, whatever. And I'm not saying it's not happening with women, but I'm telling this side of the story because it's not happening at the alarming rate that is happening with women. Women aren't committing suicide like men are committing suicide right now. If they were, then there would be some type of just law or something that is passed that would be able to help these women. Women have a whole bunch of different things that they can go to, different clubs that they can be involved with, different women's groups. I mean, it's all set in stone for them. For us, we don't have any of that. And so what happens when we have a breakdown? Which is why, in my mind, I'm like, through the stuff that I've been through, I'm first of all mentally exhausted of going through the stuff that I've been through with people that look like me. Whether it's betrayal, rather it's terrible relationships, rather it's whatever it may be. So I'm open to a spectrum of something different now, in order to experience something different, because the culture that we're in, there's only turmoil and tyranny. You don't see too many of us that are happy. But you see the majority of us sad, broken, and lonely inside. Yes, happiness does start within. It does. And as a man or as a woman, it is not your obligation to make the other person happy. It is for you to try to understand them the best way that you can and help them to achieve their dreams, and they're supposed to do the same for you. That's the reciprocation of being in a relationship.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And that really is. And I think that's the biggest thing that I had to figure out. It really is not your job to make the other person happy. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, what about your happiness? Take stock of, like, how many people come and see about you or check in on you, or, when things are going right or things are going awry. I know for myself, I've been, like, super blessed to have come across a lot of different individuals over, like, the past year. I mean, you being one of them. And then also some amazing people that I actually work with as well. I tell you, out of everybody that I've probably have, seen, work with, at least in a workplace setting, Some of these individuals are pretty, man, I mean, I tell you, they're amazing. Uh, you know, it's definitely, you hear about workplace family, but it's like, it's one thing to hear about it, it's something totally different when you actually, like, experience it. And, you know, it's never not one day where it is not like not having like a therapy session, or you know, it's not never one day where it's like, oh, are you sick? You know, let me go and you know, hey, I brought you back something. This will help with this will help with whatever it is that you got going on, or even relationship advice. I mean, you know, where it's like asking those hard questions. I mean, so I would definitely like, yeah. I mean, kind of lost where I was going with that point. But just literally, I guess, really more so just want to just throw that out there. I mean, everybody needs, I mean, you always have to think about those that check in on you, because you can't do it. You can't do it all yourself.
No, no, you can't.
You can't expect. You can't make somebody try and make somebody else happy, and then you still left to try and figure out how you're gonna cover your own happiness. I mean, and at that point, it's insufficient because you've done so much trying to make this person happy, and then when this person ends up potentially, you know, Lord forbid, if they end up leaving, then you're left to wonder, like, okay, what next?
Most definitely, most definitely. And so I look at it as a cultural effect. You have, you know, back in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, 70s, 80s, coming into 90s, coming into the 2000s, where you start to see this big shift. The big shift is your women used to stay with you through whatever, you know, and that was dope. Except for if you were being abused and anything else, but just the understanding of you had a woman that was committed to you is what, you know, to me that's something amazing. Nowadays, you don't have that. You have the possibility of, even on your wedding night, marrying this woman and her possibly going out and cheating. You know, it's at what, why does it make sense, especially with the modern day woman, to even be in a relationship? Women aren't supposed to be able to do the same thing that men do, and men aren't supposed to be able to do the same thing that women are supposed to do. We are each put here equally to fulfill our equal jobs. Now, there are some men that can do what women do, and there are some women that can do what men can do, but not too many. And so I think we need to, instead of the whole idea of equal rights, women and men need to understand what are equal rights within this relationship. What is it that you want to do? What is it that I want to do? What is it that you want me to do? What is it that I want you to do? What does that look like? Are you willing to do that? You know, it's like we've lost touch with reality. And now everybody's like, well, I can make up my own reality, and this is what I want my reality to be, and you need to fit in it. And it's like, no, we can coexist, but we have to coexist underneath these laws that we put together, these laws and these parameters that we put together.
I think the biggest issue, you mentioned the 40s, 50s, and 60s, basically back in the day, as far as the longevity of relationships is concerned. And again, it may be a more conservative look or view on it. I think the biggest thing is, I mean, if we think about back then, and what I like to call, like, you know, my grandmother's time, like you say, a lot of the reasons for those relationships lasting as long as they did, or being the staple point of, you know, some marriages that have been, 50, 60, and 70 years strong. It's a general fact that, I mean, for one, the rights of a woman were a little bit more, they were a lot lesser than they are today. There was not very much opportunity either. So, in a way and in an essence, a woman, if she, her best bet was to basically marry and to, I want to say latch on, but, basically wed and marry a man that, Lord, hopefully, would do right and go out and work, support the family, and basically do what needed to be done to ensure that the household and her was taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously as the years go on and as the tide starts to turn and change, we begin to see that, more opportunity has become available to, women to do different things, to be their own bosses. Social media, became a big thing and became a big craze.
Mm-hmm.
And and then now, what you have now is that women feel as if though, there necessarily isn't, one necessarily isn't really a reason to have a man around, but in reality, kind of that's really what it is, because whatever it is that they need, they can provide for themselves now.
Yeah, the only problem with that is, there are so many studies that say things a little bit different. Because of woman brings, let's go with single parent mothers. Single parent mothers bring a form of nurturement, but they don't bring a form of structure. Not all, but most. Fathers bring a sense of structure, and they need help on the nurturing side, but they bring a form of structure. Now, in the world that we live in, you need to have both, but you can find more sense of nurturing than you can structure for a child. If a child is structured, then that means they can go out, they can fend for themselves when they get older. They won't be participating in let's just say street activities. They'll be able to process better. The only thing that they're losing out on is the emotional content. It seems like, once again, not all, but a lot of women go based off their emotions instead of their logic. Now, going based off your emotions there's a problem with that, because emotions are exactly what an emotion is. It's a moment in time. That's all it is. That's all an emotion is. It's how you feel in that present state at that time. Logic has to deal with how you analyze the world. So if you let your emotions rule you, you have no analytics about anything that's actually going on around you. You just have a feeling of what's going on in you at that particular time. That messes up structure, because the only thing it creates is feeling, emotion. Not to say we don't need emotion, because we do. Like I said before, I didn't feel like I got the love that I needed from my parents. But because I got the structure from them, I don't do outrageous, dumb shit. So on one side, it was terrible. On the other side, it's okay. I can build off of what you've given me. But because you didn't give me this over here and other things that have happened, I choose now not to have a relationship with you, even though you gave me this good foundation. So that's the trade-off. I'd rather have that trade-off than me being in prison because I'm just this reckless, emotional person. So basically, men need women and women need men. Whether we want to agree with it or whether we don't want to agree with it, only a woman can pass through the womb, but only a man can plant the seed. The true seed. I would never bash women. I love women. I just give my opinions and how I may be processing things at this point in time. But man, it's good to have you back. How you feel?
Good to be back.
Okay. Well, y'all, I guess on this one we're gonna wrap it up a bit. And shoot, we'll be back with episode 13 coming soon. Thank you for checking out Grown Man Shit. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Please, we need that going on here. And if there's any topics that you would like for us to talk about, please let us know in the comments. And if you think there's anybody that should be on the show, please let us know as well. We appreciate you. We love you. You guys have a blessed time, blessed day. Grown Man Shit. Peace.
Give my theme music.
Oh, boy.
Way better.